Today I am with Mies Bartholomeus in Kerkrade, Netherlands. And we're talking about different ways to use kinesiology. And you are a specialist in kinesiology, and you use it with a particular intention in general, and also in incorporating some aspects of understanding dreams.
Yes.
So tell me what you do and how this even happened.
Well, let's first explain the muscle test. I'm using a short muscle here in the upper arm, and he's only raising the arm. And we are mammals, and mammals have a survival system of fight or freeze. So that's what we need the body for. If there is any stress impulse, then there goes a signal from our highest knowledge to the mind and to our body, and we making ourselves in split seconds ready to flee or to fight, even to freeze, but that's only in the case of trauma. So I ask a person to hold his arm, yes, like that, and then I say hold, and then you feel that the arm there, the muscle is having a good vitality. If I do this with your muscle and I say hold,
Totally changes.
totally changes.
Yeah, immediately.
Yes. Okay, that's a part of our system with the muscles. So if I do this with you, or I do that with you, then it goes down. So when there is a stress impulse, and stress is everything what's not good for you. Can be a bad remark or not good food, or it could be everything. So then the body goes into flee or fight. And this muscle, I'm testing with you here, doesn't flee or doesn't fight. So he loses his vitality. And the vitality goes to the long muscles who flee and fight. Yes. So that's short explanation of the muscle test. And you can have many muscle tests, for instance, the 42 muscles related to the meridians, but I'm using this one, and my intention is to have contact with the highest wisdom of a person. And the highest wisdom of a person is laying on the soul's level. And what's also true, that we are energetic creatures, and all is energy, and we are connected with all the energy of the universe. So our highest wisdom is able to screen everything in, is it good for me or is it not good for me? And so I can ask with a muscle test, so is it good for you or not? And a part of my work is about people who have physical problems, but most of them, the latest time, is that they are in the process of becoming more aware, life-changing, and then they can I ask for them, what the changing is about and what is holding them back to go through the process.
So this is, in a way, a special field of kinesiology, because most kinesiologists would not do this.
Not all. There are kinesiologists who doesn't work on my way. And
so you studied initially in the traditional way, and then you.
I have studied, for instance, with Gordon Stokes and Daniel Whiteside, the 3-in-1 concept. The name is already in it. The 3-in-1, body, mind, and spirit. And for me, it's very inspiring to get in contact with the spirit, because that is the part we really are. We have our minds, thinking and feeling, and we have our bodies, but our true selves is on the soul level. And that's also the level we know all about us, from the past in the now to the future.
So now I have to think that this evolved over time for you.
Yes. When I started 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, I was working with children, and my specialty was children with learning and behavior problems. I'm self dyslexia, and that was the first intake and the first input in the kinesiology. But you are going with with every session you make, and I'm studying through, and I've also studied other principles. For instance, the esoteric philosophy was very impressive for
Now,
me.
did that happen simultaneously, the esoteric studies and the kinesiology?
No, then I was already a few years a kinesiologist.
Yeah.
And in my development later, there came the esoteric side of the being.
Now, do you think that for you, as you started to pay more attention to the subtle energy of the body, that brought forward more of your feeling of the soul?
Yes, it was also more living for me, for my own soul, and then also easier to connect with the souls of others.
Yeah.
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 That was
Yeah.
the way of developing.
Yeah. You know, that sentence is so short, but when it's so important, because what I heard you say is when you live from your own soul, it is easier to connect with the soul of others.
Yes.
And, so many of us on the planet, we yearn for deep connection.
Yes.
And the first place sometimes we look is outside.
Yeah.
And your sentence said the opposite. It said, when I live from my soul,
Yeah.
I can connect with the soul of others.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was a dream who brought me to that. And so that's why I'm becoming very interested in dreaming. And
Well, can you share the dream or
Yeah.
a little bit of it even?
I will short.
Yeah.
I was dreaming. Then I was very in love with a man, and I dreamt that I was with his father and my father. I didn't know his father in a car, and we drove along the roads in Holland, and where his father wanted to eat, my father didn't want to eat, all around. And at the moment I was so angry, I said, and the next restaurant we are going to eat. And of all, that was what you call in Holland a pannenkoek restaurant.
So basically, let's say that for people who don't have a smattering of,
Yeah.
Dutch language, that's basically pancakes,
No, only
really,
pancakes.
really good pancakes.
And I don't like that. And I think it was an awful restaurant with small windows and curtains. But I had said what I did, so I went in with them. And then they were both very angry at me. So I looked out the window and I saw a little white elephant walking across the street. And I said to those two elderly men, bye, I'm going to find my elephant. And then I went out and I went after the elephant. And then there's nothing in a split second. And then I'm walking in the North African landscape with those clay houses. And there's a man coming out of one of the houses. I can't see him because he's wearing a jalaba. But I know it's the man I'm so in love with. And he says to me, come, you have to be with me. And I said to him, no, I don't have to be with you. I have to find my own white elephant. And for me, that was the moment that I decided I have to search for my soul and to live for my soul.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
a beautiful dream, eh?
It was a beautiful
powerful.
dream. Yes, it was.
Yeah. I hear you saying it changed your life.
Yes,
That the
that changed
decision
my life.
made in
Yeah.
the dream.
Yeah.
How old were you at that time?
I think I was 40, 93,
Yeah.
30,
39? 39. I
40?
say that because, we make decisions at different points in our life.
Yeah.
In our life cycle.
Yeah.
We make important decisions, and we're ready to give up
Yes.
the world that we thought we had to live
Yeah.
and take on a
Yeah.
different world entirely. Yeah.
I have a card, a visit card, and the sentence on it is, "Slowly but surely, I'm becoming the one who I should have been," and started there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now tell me about the work you're doing now. You've told me a few stories and they touched me deeply, which is why we're here today.
Okay. Well, people come to me with problems, physically, mentally, emotionally, and then I use the muscle test, the own wisdom, to find out about the troubles. I'm always saying I'm just a translator of your own problems. I'm not more than that. And once there came a man with me, and I know his wife, and he said to me, "Well, I have a problem, but I don't know what my problem is. That's difficult." And I said, "Well, maybe we can ask your own higher wisdom." So I get tested, pre-test, and all the things that belong to it. And then, how can we get known with your problem? And then you have to be very creative and intuitive, and kind of wisdom you have to do with it. And at last, he had to. I had to seek in magazines
Yeah?
underneath my cupboard.
Yeah.
And there was
So before you went to the magazines, you had exhausted all
all kinds.
You had asked him one question,
kinds.
another question,
Yes,
another
yes.
question.
I think
what
I
does your
asked him
soul want?
100.
What does this?
I think I have suggested 100 things.
So his arm was exhausted.
Almost. I have two arms. So. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
And then I had to take.
Now that must have been your intuition that took you to those magazines.
Yes, because I was. Yeah, and creativity. You have to think creative. How can you go to the problem? And the last thing, almost the last thing, was the magazines. And I tested one magazine, and I had to be on page 12. So, magazine, page 12, and there was a poem. And I said to the man, "Well, read it." And he was reading the poem. He got tears in his eyes, and he said, "This is my problem." And it was a poem about a man wrote about his relationship with his mother. And then he realized, I have a problem in the relationship with my mother. And from then the process
changed everything. So you know what's as we unpack this, there's a couple of things. There's the muscle telling, the muscle testing, having the wisdom of the soul.
Yeah.
There's also your intuition.
Yes.
And there's his intuition in coming to you.
Yeah.
So a lot of what's happening in this story, in this example, is stuff that is unseen.
It's completely unseen.
Unseen to our intellect.
Yeah.
And yet it changed his life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the problem with kinesiology and working the way I'm working with it is that you have no scientific, how do you call that? Proof.
Yeah.
It's not scientifically proof.
Yeah.
But if you look at another way, for instance, if you go looking in the quantum physics, then you can explain what's happening. And all is energy. And we are connected with all the energy there is. And our soul is also connected with all there is. So if the soul is asked the right question, he can answer.
Yeah. And now there has to be then a relationship between your soul
Yes.
and
his
that
soul.
of the client.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah. It has to be.
Has to
An
be.
energetic
And that's
relationship.
not intellectual.
No.
Can't be, right?
No.
Because it's bigger than the question.
Yeah.
It's bigger
But-
than the
yeah.
question because no one knows the answer.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
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 And it may also make it possible to work with mentally handicapped people or disabilities. Or,
Mentally disabled or children. You also work with children.
yes. And on the soul's level, a handicapped person is quite the same as we are. His disability is in the mind or in the body or in both. So you can also work with that kind of children or grown-up people.
Do you use a surrogate then, or do you simply ask that question to the person and see what the response is?
No, I have to use a shadow tester because they are not able. They
Yeah.
are handicapped.
Yeah.
So a brother or mother,
Yeah.
just so
Touching.
did he is him, and
Yeah.
then we are going to work. And mostly there is a question from the parent. For instance, the handicapped boy I had once was underneath the eczema. Eczema?
Eczema is perfect. Yeah.
And his brother asked if I could work with him, and I said yes, I can work with him if I can borrow your muscle. So he came in with his brother, and we worked to solve the problem of his eczema. And
Now,
it
when
worked.
you say solve the problem, tell me a little bit about. Can you share that example? Is that appropriate to share some of
Yes.
what came up?
In this case, the boy was eating the wrong things, using the wrong cleaning things. So they had to turn around some things in his life,
Yeah.
so that he could overwin his eczema. And well, that was
It's wonderful.
Yes.
Absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
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 and he couldn't tell he was having because he was
Yeah.
disabled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful example.
Yeah.
So then where is this taking you? What is the direction? What does it feel like inside of you where this is going?
Well, it's my passion.
Yeah.
It has my soul, and I am so fascinated by all the wisdom there is in us and around us, and that my instrument, my tool, is the muscle test to get there. So it's in wondering is that.
Wondering? Yeah.
Yeah. Every day I'm wondering. And people in my practice often say, how is it possible?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And-
And to wonder is so different than to think we know. Wonder opens doors.
Yes.
Thinking we know, there's just a plain old wall that we
Yeah.
think we know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why it's also very difficult for people who are in their head thinking to understand what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical. I don't believe it worked like this. Have you proof? Oh, just look at people who are leaving my practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also do it with dreams. Tell me how you work with dreams and muscle test. Because when I met you, that was something I hadn't, we're at a dream conference right now, and it was surprising and delightful to hear, that to just sort of explore how you can work with muscle testing and dreams to find out what is the issue or the root or the importance.
Well, if people are having dreams and they can tell their dreams, then we can go on normal way to find out what is the issue of the dream. But very little children, babies, and children who are not able to talk have also dreams, nightmares, wake up in the night screaming, and they can't tell their parents what they are crying about. So I use the muscle test
Yeah.
in relation with pictures.
Okay.
Our unconscious part is not using words, it's using pictures. So I use pictures and I test also what is the picture I have to find out what is telling about your dream or nightmare. And that's fascinating. For instance, I had a baby and she was one of a twin. And after 2 months, her sister died and the got death. So parents were very sad, and happily the little one is so small she doesn't notice. It's a wrong. It's a wrong.
Of course, that's not true.
It's not true, but it's a
Yeah,
belief.
yeah.
And then one night she started crying, completely overwrought, and the parents could not quiet her. Totally not. They knew me, so they asked, "Is it possible for you to look at what is going on in the night with this baby?" And it was fascinating, because what she was testing out, a shadow test with parents, was a card from the animal oracle, and it was the badger. And you can have the badger up or upside down. And she had the badger upside down, and that means, the meaning there is, I am so angry, I could kill. I'm so angry. And then the parents and I realized that this baby was in a mourning process. And in the night when she was dreaming and in another state of mind, she was so angry at her sister that she left her alone on this earth.
Because they'd spent their entire time in the womb together,
and
they came in together, and then soon,
Yes.
yeah.
So, and then you are able, also with muscle test, to ask, what do you need to go through this process?
Yeah.
You have to mourn, but it's not so good for you and your parents to cry out all night.
All night, yeah.
And then I use blossom remedies.
Okay, yeah.
Calm down. Yeah.
And it worked, obviously.
It worked.
So you would use the muscle testing with the surrogate, the shadow, also to determine what remedy?
Which remedy. I have remedies for all over the world.
Yeah.
And there is always one remedy the best.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating, that our higher wisdom knows exactly you need this flower from that country. Yeah.
You know, it's, and just as we sort of come to a summary, I mean, it's so much about surrendering to listening to a wisdom that our intellect can't understand. And yet you're proving every day in your practice that a bigger part of us can solve our problems.
Yes, I tell often in my practice to children that I'm talking with the eigen wijsheid, the highest wisdom. But we don't teach our children to listen to the wisdom who's inside. Other way around. Shut your mouth. Be quiet. What do you know about it? And then the children go silent, and also go to live from their head.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're telling to the children to listen to
their
own higher wisdom.
The wisdom.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah. Listen to it.
Yeah, listen to it. Yes. Listen to it. Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
It was my pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to meet you and to get you know.
Yeah, likewise.
Yes.
Likewise. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.